What's up, guys? It is Deke and Greg back with another episode built into our 2021 NFL draft schedule. The last episode we did was a 4-person mock draft that we were just discussing, Greg. I think we all did pretty well.
I think we all did very well indeed. Austin's the only one that was suspect at best with the one that was near and dear to our hearts a little bit.
Which we agreed it was kind of not his fault, but his fault because he got the Steelers.
It was his fault, yeah. He had too much pressure on him. You know what it was? I don't think Austin would be a great GM then. I don't think he can balance the pressure versus the expectations.
Interesting.
I think he might drop the ball very easily if he was given the power of a situation like being a formidable franchise as the Pittsburgh Steelers.
See, we say that, and then Creed Humphrey is the best tackle in this class. You know what I mean? Like, we say that, and then something else
we
is
do.
happen.
I watched his pro day, though, man. Like, there wasn't really much to wow me.
Yeah, he's definitely an NFL caliber
He's
player.
an NFL caliber player, yeah, but there's nothing like that wows me about him. I bet you Quinn Marinez is going to be better.
Ooh, okay. Interesting.
Just saying.
So what Greg and I are doing today, because we invited Tweedledee and Tweedledum down, they are not down here, so their opinions don't matter.
That sounded great when you said Tweedledee and Tweedledum down here. that flowed so perfectly.
A little alliteration. Greg and I are going to go through our top fives. Positional ranking, just offense today.
Yep.
We'll be doing a lot more of these coming up into the draft. We want to try to get a video out a week for the NFL draft just to maintain, our research knowledge, because I feel like this year especially I'm lacking compared to previous years.
Yeah, it's a weird year. I think the offensive rankings that we're doing today were probably the easiest ones, and we're also like the most depth-heavy ones that we were able to produce because of the fact this is an offensive-heavy class, in my opinion. Like wherever you look at, and I think that's just how the college game is producing it now. You have so many elite receivers coming out now, and I mean, looking at defense, there's no elite level pass rusher, there's no elite defensive lineman. There's a couple very good linebackers that one of them didn't play all year, so we don't know what's going to happen. Secondary is probably the strength of this class, but even the safeties, they're okay. Corners are probably where the strength of the
pretty
defense.
top-heavy,
yeah, it's
but
very
still
top-heavy.
the strength.
Yeah, so just looking at it from this year, I think the offense was kind of the main focus that we're going to be paying the most attention to, and that's probably why it's such an offensive-heavy draft this year.
So today we're going to go through quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, and then offensive line for the sake of this video because it is just us two today. We squeezed all of the O-line together. Closer to the draft, we'll do tackles and then interior offensive linemen so that centers and guards are more together. Traditional tackles are going to be obviously in a category of their own.
Yeah, we want to make this video a little bit more condensed to start us off, and then we'll get breaking down into the
now that we
nitty-gritty.
figured out all the settings.
Exactly. It took a while, but we got that.
As you can see, there's three of I would say arguably the top 5 guys in this draft on this graphic here.
And being protected by the guy that I think is the best player in this class.
We are definitely being protected by Trevor Lawrence, if that's what you're saying.
Absolutely.
You think he's the best player in this draft?
I think Penei Sewell is the best player in this class, yeah.
Interesting. I mean, I don't hate it. I mean, he's an absolute freak of nature stud, and that's why I put him in the middle of our picture. That, plus, I don't know if Josh has ever done it, so I feel like I like having
I
first.
think, I mean, you've already kind of
It's probably a director no-no.
You think?
I don't know.
I don't know. I feel like more directors should do this when you think about it.
Yeah,
I mean, come on, look at those arms. Like, how could you not be protected by that?
Right?
Yeah.
So, sadly, he will have to wait till the end. He is the last class we're going to go through. But, Greg,
it's worth the wait.
It's
worth the
well
wait.
worth the wait.
Yes.
So, here's a little spoiler. He's number 1.
Oh, shit.
Spoilers.
Sorry.
We're going to get through our quarterback.
If you want to get there.
Yes, we'll put the time out for it. But so, Greg, would you like to go through your top 5 or back to back on the first, second, third, fourth, fifth in the class? How do you want to do it, buddy?
I'll go through our top 5 to start. So, number 1 for me is probably the easiest one right off the top of the get-go. Trevor Lawrence from Clemson. He is everything that you want in a quarterback. Probably the best prospect we have seen since Andrew Luck. All the measurables. He's got the height. He's got the arm. He's got the smarts. He has the vision that you want from there. Right from the get-go, he's going to be an elite-level player for Jacksonville. It's building a team around him that's going to be the question mark. So see how that goes. Number 2 for me, I think Justin Fields is in this. I know there's a lot of argument for the second and third guy, but if I'm looking at both of them, Justin Fields has a better pedigree. I would argue that he played in a much tougher conference to go off of that. And I would say that we have heard so much about how good Justin Fields was for so long, and even the year before this previous year, he showed that he was a top-level quarterback, that I feel like if you would have given him 12 games this year to work it out, I think his numbers would have been pretty good to start. Number 3, I'm going to go with the one-year wonder that is Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson, we've heard so many comps like from some guys that are calling him like the next Patrick Mahomes. I think you got to pump the brakes on that just a little bit. This dude's like a 1-year wonder. And all that, the year before that, he was injured, didn't really show us as much as we thought he could. I think the offense that he worked in played to his strengths immensely. And Wilson also, if you have a unique and creative offensive coordinator to work off with, I think he'll flourish.
Especially in the at that next level.
He also strikes me as a guy that you don't need a strong offensive line to work with, because I think he'll be very good at regards to scrambling out. He'll be good at extending the play.
He's an athlete.
He is an athlete, yeah. So 1-year wonder, possible, but I also think that there's something there that an NFL team can get out of him. Number 4 for me is Trey Lance. Trey Lance, I thought, was, if he would have come out last year, which he was eligible to do, would have been a first-round pick again. He's got all the physical traits that you could possibly want in a quarterback. I watched his pro day this past week, and he looked like an NFL quarterback. I think teams are drooling at the potential for what he could possibly do for them. I also think he's the one quarterback in this class that should sit the first year. I think, especially,
he only had one game.
He only played
one game, right?
He only played one game this year. He needs to get his bearings about him. I think he is the perfect essential clay hunk to be able to mold into the perfect starting quarterback that you want for a franchise. Yes. So I would, in all seriousness, I would love for him to go somewhere that already has a veteran quarterback that he could sit behind. So I think Atlanta would be perfect there for me, in my opinion. I don't know if they would do it because I think that's a little high at 4, but that's just my thought. And then number 5 is the guy that has been shooting up draft boards lately, is Mack Jones. Mack Jones, I understand the logic here, playing on the best team in college football. Best team in college football, great offense, great offensive line to work with. He showed traits of being mobile and having to extend plays if you want, and he's got a great arm. But I just look at him, and then I look at these other 4 quarterbacks, and I just see the athleticism comparison to that and what the new NFL is kind of going towards. And Mack Jones just does not do it for me. I think he, based on his grade, is a late first quarterback, but he's going to get drafted in top 10, top 15 because.
Well, I would say even that late first, I feel like, is a surge recently. He was obviously a second rounder going into what we consider the draft season. But
I say he's a first round talent. I honestly do, but it's just hard for me to kind of say that he is a top 10 level talent in this class because I don't think he is. But I think he does deserve to be a top first-round pick this year.
Yeah, no, and I have the same 5 guys. So, T-Law, which and I'll go through mine quickly so then we can just bounce back and discuss each prospect. Fields, I agree with. I've been high on Fields since QB1. There's something about him. He's a winner. He's an athlete. Wilson, obviously, is in there, and a lot of people have Wilson at 2. I think. That the flashes that I want Justin Fields to show, Zach Wilson has shown, so there is a bit of an interest there. For me, I have Mack Jones at 4. Trey Lance is a physical freak. He is a stud potential, all of those types of things, which soccer, I'll just put it on the board. And there is the I think it's the stat going around that Mack Jones only completed 44 tight-knit window passes or something like that last year. 2 things. One, he didn't really need to. I mean, he's on Alabama.
You had 2 elite receivers that separated great, so there's no reason to have tight windows.
Exactly. And 2, for me, Mack Jones fits as one of, I would say, probably, Trevor Lawrence is an absolute freak, but I would say Mack Jones has to start today as number 2 in this class behind Trevor Lawrence.
I can get with that.
A day 1 starter. So I do think that helped out his stock a lot. So that's the big place that you and I differ on is Mack Jones, Trey Lance. I worry that we get too excited about these types of quarterbacks, and I guess, I'm adding Jordan Love to that category of a lot of flash, a lot of potential. We're taking them high because guess what? And we all agree on this, Greg. A rookie contract quarterback is how you win a Super Bowl.
It is. I would also argue that we get excited about rookie quarterbacks every year because we don't know.
I loved Brad Kaya.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But we get stuck on them because our thoughts are this guy could be the next franchise guy. That's just how it is. Every team is looking for a franchise quarterback regardless of what you think. You've touched on this before that every team should draft a quarterback at least once.
I think every year you should draft a quarterback because guess what? You might find
a
Tom Brady.
Yep. You might find a Dak Prescott. You might find a lot of these guys. I mean, it's entirely possible at this case. Is there anyone not in your top 5 that you're intrigued by?
There's a couple guys. I mean, we always joke about Felipe Franks, but he's gonna get drafted somewhere.
He'll be a 7th-round guy or some shit.
But I think the big name here is Kyle Trask. A lot of people, I'm not a fan of Kyle Trask just because I don't know. I got to watch more on the kid and figure it out. But I think Trask is the next person taken in this draft, and I think depending on his situation, he has a decent shot to be a starter. Is how it works.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the guy who was the MVP of the Senior Bowl, Kellen Mond.
Yep.
He
Love
is
that.
very much the prototypical dual threat quarterback. Texas A&M didn't really have like the offense that I think like kind of played to his strengths necessarily, but I think if you give him time to develop, you might have something special on your hand. I think he needs to like bulk up just a little bit more, but he's got a very good arm and he can make plays happen with his feet.
Yeah, I like him a lot. And then I think it'll be interesting, most likely an undrafted free agent, but Ian Book out of Notre Dame. Older guy, nothing there that's too crazy, but could find himself on the back end of a roster with some, on a team that doesn't quite need a quarterback, but I wouldn't hate to see him take to Chiefs, somewhere that, they just need someone to run behind Mahomes for a little bit based on how the fact that Mahomes is the guy. So I could see him being a nice filler there.
Yeah.
I like the quarterbacks in this draft. I think that we've been waiting so long for Trevor Lawrence to get drafted. It feels like we've known him for like 10 years now.
It really has. I mean, the dude, when he was a freshman, he won a natty. So, like, I remember for the longest time it was him and Tua that we thought were, like, going to be the next guys.
Yeah.
And I mean, Joe Burrow kind of snuck up in there and wowed us and everything. But, yeah, we've waited so long for T-Law to come out, and now it's finally here. It's kind of like, what are we going to get when this happens?
Yeah, man, it's exciting. So, we obviously had them. I think we had all of them in our mock draft. We had Trevor Lawrence, obviously, to the Jaguars. I'm trying to think. I know that I took Trey Lance with the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, Dre had Justin Fields with the Jets. I remember that.
He did. And then Zach Wilson, I want to say, I have the pictures here, so I'm going to pull it up, but I want to say Falcons.
Yeah, I think Zach Wilson was a Falcon. Mack Jones, I believe.
I took Mack Jones with the 19th pick to the Washington football team.
Yeah, he did fall pretty far. I remember
Which
that.
was surprising to me because we'll see where he goes. But yeah, it was Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, and then Zach Wilson, and then Trey Lance, and then Mack Jones.
Okay.
In our mock,
yeah,
so.
I think I don't see Mack Jones going past 15.
Okay.
I think he'll probably get overdrafted just because that's how it always is with quarterbacks.
100%. Let's transition over to what I would say it's this or wide receivers is going to be my favorite class coming out of here. But the running backs in this class, man, some bona fide studs, two really strong stallions up top that we differ on positional.
We do. And first off, I just want to say I miss the days where teams would draft running backs in the top 5 all the time and hope that they would get like the next Walter Payton or Emmitt Smith or some shit. And then now the new phase is always to be like, oh, running backs, you can get anyone to work it. It's
Diamond in the rough, man.
Diamond in the rough is just the way to go now. It's just so crazy how the NFL kind of works this case. But the proof is in the pudding,
100%.
essentially.
I mean, look at the 49ers running attack.
Oh, God, they run 4 deep, and they're completely fine. Like, Patriots for the longest time ran 4 deep, and it worked out well for them. So, yeah, it's just how the new NFL is. The Buccaneers this year, like, yeah, you had Leonard Fournette, but, hell, you ran 3 deep at that point.
I mean, Kamara and Mark Ingram were the best duo, I think, at running back position I've seen in a long time.
For sure. There's so many teams now that are just terrified of having one bell cow that it's now kind of like the requisite that you just have a number of guys to be able to hand it off. But in terms of my top 5, I'm going to start off at the top, Naji Harris. Alabama. The plays that I saw this dude make this year were just absurd. Leaped over guys multiple times in playoff games. Bullied dudes in the SEC. Was a man among child. Obviously, the big thing for him is he's a little bit older. He's 23, I think. So he's going to have, by the time his second contract comes around, it'll be 28, 29, which is usually when a running back starts to downgrade. So that might go work against him. Second one is Travis Etienne, Clemson. A lot of people thought that this was going to be the number 1 running back coming in this year. You can make that argument still. I think he is a very well-rounded guy. I would say what kind of worried me a little bit this year is that he wasn't relied upon as much this year.
Sure.
Especially when DJ Uiagalelei was the quarterback and you kind of, I felt, needed him to take over a game a little bit more. I don't know if that was just the offensive mindset or something like that, but I would have thought Atn would have showed out a little bit more this year. I think coming in, I mean, last year he could have came out and he would have been top 20, I'd say, pick.
I think that you see him win a Super Bowl with the Chiefs.
Yeah, I agree. I think he would have been perfect fit for the Chiefs at that point. Number 3 is the guy who's getting a lot of steam lately. I also think is the third best running back in this class, Javonte Williams from North Carolina. He was a stud this year for Carolina, really helped out Sam Howell with regards to that offense being as well-balanced as it was. This is a guy that's getting helium to be a late first-round pick potentially. I mean, I think I saw Zerline from NFL Network say something about that.
Wow.
Yeah, he might be a late first-round guy, which would kind of surprise me. There's a lot of people that are going back and forth on Williams. Like, some people like his traits and could actually believe he's the best back in this class.
Well, the interesting thing about first-round running backs is that we do it all the time.
Right.
I'll put like 4 running backs in there because it's funny, but it's true because you look at all these classes and all the guys that are like late, and it's like Chris Carson's in the 7th and Alvin Kamara in the 3rd or whatever it was, and it's like, you know that they have talent, but it's where you can get them positionally. So I've had to pump the brakes heavily in past years on running backs.
You've learned.
I've gotten burnt, man.
You've learned. I'm proud of you. All right.
Wide receivers is another story.
Yes. So after the top 3, I feel like this is where it kind of becomes very interchangeable with regards to who you can go with. For me, my 4th one is Michael Carter, who was a Javonte Williams backmate in North Carolina. I love the dude's speed. I think that if he was the bell cow for North Carolina the entire time, he would have also worked his way up there, just because I think the way that they use their offense, his type of style of running game would have been heightened to the uptake degree. I think he could be given the opportunity as a starter. I think he could wow people, but right now, I mean, the jury's out on him just because of the fact that he was a backmate the entire time, and Javonte Williams was the main guy. Number 5 for me is the guy that I think that if he came out last year would have also been a top 2-round pick, I would argue, Chuba Hubbard from Oklahoma State. I think last year at this point, a lot of people thought he could be an every down guy.
Yeah.
I don't know what necessarily happened this year with Oklahoma State that it kind of changed that mindset. I think in terms of like the body type that he has, I think in terms of the running style, I think he could be an every down back, but I think he needs to work on a few things. He definitely needs to be in a situation where he's not the primary ball carrier.
Yeah, I think it's fair, man. It's interesting with all these as of right now. We're going to have a very similar name iteration, but a couple shifts.
Right.
So I have some different guys here, but let's punch through them, and then we'll get to discussing just pound for pound. I'm staying true. I believe it's the perfect back for today's game in the NFL, so I have Etienne at 1. I do agree he had a down year, but if he would have come out last year, he would have been up there as one of the best backs, over Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Jonathan Taylor.
Absolutely.
So Naji Harris, obviously coming in at 2. My only concern really with Harris is that it's a little bit of Derrick Henry love bias. It's that
Bama
big,
connection,
powerful, nobody can touch him. He's a man amongst children back. We have to understand it took Derrick Henry a couple years to get there, and they're not identical backs by any stretch of the imagination, but the big, powerful man of a man back.
Derrick Henry was also a Heisman Trophy winner. Like
he
bullied dudes when he was in college.
That he was. So Najee Harris, I do think is a beast, but I think the hurdling we get a little. We pump that up higher than Etienne.
We get starstruck.
Oh, hell yeah. I do have Williams as 3. It's the popular pick right now. I think that I'm not a big Sam Howell guy anymore. I think we've discussed him multiple times on the show.
I noticed that. I'd be willing to give him another chance because I looked at his numbers after you brought that up, and they were very much the same.
It was drastic how much he did not improve, was how I'll word it.
So you're saying
from year over year.
Because he stagnated a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay.
It gave me some reservations with it, but Williams is a beast, and I see him fitting into the NFL very well. And then this is where we go a little bit different, a bit of a surprise pick because of how much I like the guy we both have at 5. But Kenneth Gainwell, we talked to him coming out of Memphis. I just made the recency bias knock for Najee Harris, but with Antonio Gibson's success in that style of running back, Kenneth Gainwell has a nice lane to the NFL with the correct system. And then I'm with you. I thought he was going to come out as the number 2 back in this class at the start of the year. That's Chuba Hubbard. And, they have him more as a committee back right now, a one-cut runner. I don't exactly know where the fit is for him, but I know that I've seen flashes of an NFL starter to him. So let's discuss just the top 2 guys right now, because those are the guys.
They're interchangeable at this point, yeah.
I agree. I think that it's which one are you looking more for? And so I had tweeted out that the Pittsburgh Steelers with the 24th overall pick, ... because Travis Etienne had 3 people, shout out to Alex Zora, sent down to his pro day from the Steelers.
Yeah.
I think that it's interesting to decide between these 2 backs. Which one do you think fits the Steelers better right now?
Wow. I feel like it all focuses on how their offensive line is going to play out in this case, because if they're going with a power,
Which thank God we got Finney back.
yeah, really, much needed depth. If they're gonna run like a power formation, then it's Naji Harris. But I think in terms of an every down back, I think Atn might be the guy a little bit more. I think he can run between the tackles better. I think he's a better pass blocker.
Pass catcher.
Pass catcher too. He's younger also, which I think is a big thing the Steelers look for.
Always do.
I'm leaning towards Atn then in terms of fit. I think Najee Harris, because of his measurables, is going to get pumped up a lot more amongst the normal draft crowd,
sure.
which is understandable, and also because there's going to be some knock on Travis Etienne because he didn't produce like we expect him to compared to his junior year. But I could see the argument that based on your fit, Etienne would probably work out a little bit better with the Steelers.
Yeah. And then past that, I mean, Michael Carter is up there, but there's no way I was leaving Chuba Hubbard off my board.
Yeah.
I've spoke too highly of him for too long. And then I think, like we said, I'm a little recent bias with the Gainwell. But what's one thing that Michael Carter has in your mind that Kenneth Gainwell and Chuba Hubbard don't, to put him at 4 on your board?
I think Michael Carter has Chuba Hubbard this year kind of proved that he wasn't necessarily the top 2-round guy that I think we all believed him to be. I think Carter's got the speed. He's got the burst. I think that also he has a better pass-catching ability compared to Hubbard. If you're looking at Gainwell, Antonio Gibson really did kind of prove that running backs from Memphis can work out very well. Because Antonio Gibson, I think Gibson and Gainwell are kind of a little bit different. I think Gainwell is actually a much more of an every down back than Gibson was. I think Gainwell could actually work very well in today's NFL. I think he has the speed that you want.
Yeah.
I think he needs to be a little bit bigger. Just a little bit to be the every down guy. I don't know if he'll produce well as like a pass catching / guy that can motion out into the slot maybe, but we'll see how it works out.
Yeah, agree with that. I think this will be the one that we change the most
I agree.
In like a few weeks. I think this is the one that's going to bounce the most.
I agree. Running backs I feel like are just so lopsided in this case. Like, I'm even thinking like maybe ATN might be the best one in this class for all we know. And then I need to see North Carolina's pro day for me to kind of like understand fully like how good Javonte Williams is. I think Carter could run a hell of a 40 and like boast it up even there.
And another name that you guessed to be my Mr. Guy for that we're both leaving off that had, kind of a one-game wonder, but it was the greatest one-game wonder we've seen in a long time, was Trey Sermon.
Trey Sermon, yeah. We have no idea what to expect from him, though.
None at all.
It's so goofy.
All I know is he can run very fast.
That is true.
Very well.
That is very, very true.
Let's move along to what is probably the other one that is the most drastically different but fun is the wide receiver class here, which
I feel like we could go 10 deep on this if we wanted to.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And wide receivers is the best because there's always going to be a million guys that we've never heard of that are going to be Hall of Famers, like Cade Johnson out of South Dakota State. Just throwing that out there.
Dude, he's my he's my favorite. Like, I'm just pointing that out there. Like, he's my favorite day 3 guy.
Senior Bowl, baby.
Mm-hmm.
But let's go through your guys.
Number 1 for me is the guy that everyone completely forgot about because he took off this year. He's the best receiver in this class, in my opinion, is Jamar Chase. When he was with Joe Burrow at LSU, he was magic. He is your perfect extra receiver on the boundary. He will get up and get catches and all that. There's an argument that actually his running mate, Terrace Marshall, might be getting some helium lately as well.
Yeah.
But Jamar Chase is a guy that I could see Jamar Chase as a Keenan Allen type guy that would get you 15 catches a game and you wouldn't even miss a beat right there. Yeah, I love Chase so much. I think he is the perfect elite receiver in this class.
Love that.
So number 2 and number 3 I feel like is the most interchangeable debate with regards between your Alabama boys. For me, I say Jalen Waddle is better. I say that because he's a faster guy. He was targeted a little bit more on your deep catches, and I think he has the hops to be able to contest one-on-one balls, which is something that is very underappreciated in the NFL because I know route running is something that we look towards and all that, but you need a guy to be able to contest the deep catches in order to be able to work in the NFL. And then number 3 is Devonte Smith. I'm not saying Devonte Smith is not a great receiver. Like, these top 3 right here are clearly head and shoulders above the rest, in my opinion. But I'm looking at the measurables right there. Devonte Smith was a game breaker at Alabama. This is a guy that was relied upon so much, especially when Waddle got injured. His numbers were absurd. You could also make the argument too that Smith had kind of more inferior defenders working against him because people had to pay so much attention to Jalen Waddle, and that's partially why Devonta Smith put up these absurd numbers.
Yeah, that's always a weird argument to me, but it's never wrong.
It's not.
It's like he succeeded because this guy was also on the team.
And,
it's like, that makes sense,
I'm saying this too. Devonta Smith, I still say, is the number one receiver. Like, any team that gets Devonta Smith is going to have a damn good receiver play. I might consider Devonta Smith as the best keeper guy to go with, even over Jamar Chase, based on where they land. So it's entirely possible here, but I say Devonta Smith is still a great option here. I just think Chase and Waddle are better in this case, especially because we're looking at it from a pro perspective.
For sure.
Number 4, Rashad Bateman from Minnesota. I for some reason, not a lot of people are talking about him like in scouting circles. I think too many people are focusing on guys that are running high 40s like Terrace Marshall, Kadarius Toney, and all that. But Bateman is a physical specimen. I feel like he is the first like good Minnesota receiver I think I've ever seen in my life. And I watched some of those games when he was with them, and some of his better moments against Penn State, against Michigan, against Ohio State. He was their go-to guy. I think there might have been somewhat of a hiccup with him because he opted out and then opted back in and stuff like that this year, so they might be held against him a little bit. But it's not necessarily too much of an issue for me because, I mean, there's guys that opted out for this year and didn't come back. But at the same time, the Big Ten was also like one of the strangest situations we've seen where they canceled football and then brought it back in. So I understand Bateman's like with his hesitance and all that, but I think this is a great option to have as a slot guy.
Yep.
He's kind of like Juju in that sense a little bit, but he also has the speed to burn you if he wants to. And then number 5, I'm gonna do a little solid for Dre. I'm gonna pick his guy. Give me Rondale Moore from Purdue. I think big thing with him. He's super young.
Yeah.
Doesn't turn 21 until after the draft, which is something that a lot of teams, I feel like, prioritize right there. He's got wheels. He's got the ability to cut and make contested catches if you want. He can make people look stupid in the open field. I think he is going to be an interesting player. There's guys that you could argue as the top 5, and like I said, this is going to be very interchangeable right there. Right now, I would say Rondale Moore is my number 5 pick, but I in a couple weeks I might change it.
Well, I would like that because he is 5 on your board.
Yeah.
So I would like that. No, I think that's strong. I think that obviously the top 3 are interchangeable in terms of their location, but anybody that has those guys behind anyone else is kind of crazy. So do I believe he'll go as the highest receiver? I'm still debating on it pretty heavily, but I think Jamar Chase is the best receiver in terms of what we've been able to witness. A year off is nothing short of time away. So
especially
I'm
for a receiver.
Yeah. So I'm very interested, but I know he's obviously worked hard. And he's probably smart for sitting out because that team was bad this year. Just atrocious.
Yeah.
Number 2 for me is my boy Devonta Smith. I understand he's undersized and that ankle can be a concern, but winning the Heisman, the numbers he was able to put up were absurd. It was unbelievable. And then, obviously that does have something to do with my number 3 guy, Waddle. I would never say lack of production. It's the lack of beating Smith for being the guy, but at the same time, you're seeing different coverages.
I think the argument, by the way, for undersized can now be put to rest. I mean, for God's sakes, we saw Tyreek Hill just torch people, and even though he had track speed right there, I mean, come on.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's something that
I will say Devonta Smith is the best route runner in this class.
Yeah,
and that's not even up for discussion.
But the undersized thing, it depends who else you have on your team. So I thought it was weird that Paris Campbell went to a team with T.Y. Hilton when they have no big receivers, stuff like that. So if you already have a small speedster, you're not going to target Smith maybe, or maybe you just look to burn everybody. But speaking of speed, I do have Kadarius Toney as 4. I think that he's gotten brought up some boards pretty heavily.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people love the kid based off his speed, and I think that that attribute alone will put him ahead of some other guys in here.
Yeah.
And then I do round out with Rashad Bateman. I was watching through Alex's tweets the other day, and he put out some clips from Bateman, and the dude is a big body, and I think he's going to find a nice home towards the end of the draft with a very good team.
Yeah, and just to point this out here, like when we say we can go 10 deep, like there's a lot of guys that I still like in this class. I mean, Terrace Marshall.
Terrace Marshall had pretty high.
Amon St. Brown, Elijah Moore.
Elijah Moore should be really well.
Tutu Atwell even is some guy that is getting some helium lately. So there's a lot of angles you can look at with this wide receiver class even. Kadarius Toney, I'm not entirely sold on yet.
Yeah.
I don't know why. The Florida offense in general is intriguing because I think the receivers overall were very solid. I don't know if Kadarius Toney played himself up to be a first-round talent yet. I think that if I look a little bit at more tape, if I see his pro day, maybe I could change my mind on that. But I'm not sold on him yet as a top 5 wide receiver in this class.
Well, it's either he did really well or Kyle Trask did, Greg. So you have to pick which one you're favoring. You got to pick which one you're putting your flag in.
Can't I just base it on the fact that they had weapons all over the place?
No, it's one or the other. Wait till I bring up the Arkansas wide receivers that you need. No.
Fuck.
No, I love it. Again, this will probably be the one that this and running backs will change aggressively towards draft day, but I think the top 3 are pretty solidified, which is cool. And we're seeing a couple of draft classes with revolutionary wide receivers, which is always fun.
Yeah. I mean, this is going to be a recurring thing now moving forward, which is really exciting to see because you're just going to have speed all over the place in the NFL.
Let's go into the class that I would say is probably the absolute, no questions asked, weakest on the offensive side of the ball, and that is tight ends.
Yeah, it's a one-man wonder on this one. Probably one of the most electric athletes we've ever seen.
One of the best one
of the best athletes we've ever seen come out as a tight end. Kyle Pitts from Florida. Another reason I'm going to point this out too, he also doesn't turn 21 until after the draft. So
freak, man.
Very young kid. Obviously there's a lot of different issues that you want with a tight end. It's your catching ability, your blocking ability. Obviously there's no argument with regards to catching. I mean, the dude is probably the next Antonio Gates in this sense. Being able to block, I don't know if he has the right measurables for that. I don't know how well he's going to handle the NFL. Again, I think he's going to have to go in an offense that's going to prioritize that or help him be able to bring that up. I loved when we did our mock draft and you had him go to the New York Giants.
Yeah.
I didn't like Evan Ingram. I know you love him and all that, but there was some damning video that came out just about how bad he's been lately. So if you put that upgrade along there, Kyle Pitts would be fun to watch.
And hopefully help Ingram a little bit.
And if they cut Ingram or not, but we'll see. Number 2 is the guy that I'm very excited for because I think he's the most well-rounded tight end.
You just like his last name.
I love the last name, too. And this is saying a lot because he's a Penn State guy, and I hate him. But Pat Friarmuth from Penn State. This dude is probably the most well-rounded tight end in this entire class. Blocking ability he's the best blocker in this class. Catching ability, he's never had any issues with being able to be a playmaker in the field. I don't know what the big knock on him is to not be higher up in this board. I don't know if it's just because if you look at all the positions around him that maybe people are prioritizing corners and receivers and all that, trying to see essentially where the best talent's coming from. But Friarmuth might sneak in as a late first-round guy potentially.
I think it's also has something to do with how good Pitts is.
Yes.
That the gap is so massive in terms of upside
for sure.
that it almost hurts Friarmuth instead of helping him in terms of being able to do things that he can't.
No, Kyle Pitts, in terms of an athlete, he is one of the most special tight ends we've ever seen come out. So there's no shame in that whatsoever. But Friarmuth actually could be a sneaky good tight end to pick up at the end of the first round for a playoff contender for a day. After this, it's a drop-off. But what I will say is all of these guys have something that kind of makes them like assets that I feel like teams would work out very for it, but it's very interchangeable. My number 3 is Hunter Long from Boston College. I read kind of the scouting report on him a little bit because most of the time, because I know the Steelers need a tight end desperately.
Yeah.
So I've been kind of looking at tight ends in the 3rd and 4th round just to see how it works out. Hunter Long is probably the most well-rounded of them.
Okay.
Very good blocker. Also very good in pass catching and all that. He's a little bit shorter.
Yeah.
That you want for a tight end, but I think if he's able to do all the jobs that you want well enough, he could be a potential fit here. He's not going to be like that all elite type tight end that you want right here. He's not Friarmuth. He's not Friarmuth in any way. But the fact that you have a tight end that's able to do everything well, I feel like is kind of something that gets lost upon a lot in today's NFL. Number 4 is also a guy that he's all athlete. Brevin Jordan from Miami. Cannot block to save his life. Hell of a good pass catcher, though. The issue with him, obviously, is that he's a little too big to be a wide receiver. It's kind of like it's like the opposite of Chase Claypool a little bit.
Yeah.
Claypool had the size, he had the speed, but people wanted him to be a tight end because of his size ability. Brevin Jordan doesn't have the blocking ability. He doesn't necessarily have the size, but he played tight end at Miami. He was put out a lot in the slot to be able to make catches, and he did very well at that. I don't know if he's going to be a tight end in the NFL.
Yeah.
I think he'll be a very good pass catcher. I think he could be I mean, he could be like a 4 receiver, maybe 3 guy, depending on the system that you put him in. But he probably won't be as great in the blocking ability. And then my 5th guy, this guy's the one I'm probably the most intrigued by, is Tommy Tremble from Notre Dame. This is a guy that his
This is my Bucky Hodges.
This is your Bucky Hodges?
Just to throw that out
I like
there.
this. This is the guy that he kind of was supplanted by a freshman phenom at Notre Dame, so he wasn't really used as well as he probably could have been. But, again, measurable-wise, his blocking ability, the times that he was used as a pass catcher, he actually was pretty good at it, but it was just far in between with that. This guy could be like a huge sleeper in this class and could actually be a huge fit for a certain team that's
100%.
able to take him. He'll probably be 3rd, 4th round guy, more than likely.
Yeah, for sure.
But he could be a steal depending on what offense that you go to.
Yeah, and we can get through mine so we can discuss positions just overall. But Pitts and Pat, I mean, let's not. Joe, those are the clear there. And then for me, I have, I believe I do, Long 3, Tommy 4, and Jordan last. Long, for me, like you said, he feels like he could be a solid starter somewhere. Brevin Jordan feels like they're going to try to force him to go to wide receiver at some point, in which case he just, I don't know, he's an athlete, he can catch, but it just wasn't, I don't know, he's just there for me. The reason I like Tremble a lot is because you look at, previously he was under Cole Kmet, so he didn't really get the starter, and then, as you mentioned, he was taken over by their freshman phenom, but he has always been good. He's always been an athlete. He's always been a blocker.
He is kind of like a Cole Kmet clone a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, very similar, but playing underneath him at Notre Dame, Tommy Tremble never really got his spotlight. Mm-hmm. So I think that he could be a very under-the-radar guy, which is, why I said Bucky Hodges, and who was a good athlete, quarterback turned tight end who did not quite pan out the way. He did play some NFL games, though.
Yeah.
There's not really any other names that are going to sneak in here for me. This tight end class is aggressively pathetic.
Yeah, I need to look more into this class.
I normally get into tight ends. Like last year's Troutman.
Adam Troutman, but he turned out great though. Like he's a hell of a weapon for New Orleans.
He's the only tight end on New Orleans right now.
Yeah, he was the Mackey Award winner too from FAU. So it was like, what the hell?
So love this one. This one probably won't change too much except for 3, 4, 5 come draft time. But 1 and 2 are solidified 1 and 2 right now.
Yeah, I really need to look into more of the day 3 guys just to kind of see if there's any hidden gems or something like that. Like I've heard of a couple ones like the Nick Eubanks from Michigan. Mm-hmm. I've seen Kyle Granson from SMU and stuff like that. But those are like lottery ticket guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then let's get into the last part of today, which is, I think, going to be the easiest in terms of names because we're just generally saying O-line. We're not saying tackle, center, things like that.
Yeah.
But I think the offensive line is one of the very, very big strengths of this class.
I agree. What's fun about this is 2 of my guys, you could make arguments that they're tackles or guards.
Yeah,
so it's kind of like the situation where you have no idea where they're going to be placed at.
We do have the same 5, just in very different order later on. So
that's what I figured. But yeah, this offensive line class is so intriguing for me. Like if you need offensive line or you don't want to pay any guys, this is your perfect year for that. And a lot of these guys are probably day 1 starters when you think about it.
Agreed.
I look at last year too. Last year they had 4 left tackles drafted within the top 11 picks. All of them were starters, and the best one from that, I would argue, was Mekhi Becton for the Jets.
You think?
I think so, yeah, because I'm comparing it to Jedrick Wills in Cleveland, Andrew Thomas at the Giants, and who was the last one?
Tampa Bay Bucks.
Oh, Tristan
Wirfs. He's the one that I would pick just because of the Super Bowl, but Becton is probably he was a plug-and-play on a key team, whereas Becton's team just sunk. So it's nothing against Becton or Wirfs, but
I think I'm just looking at them. I think Wirfs was the second best, though. That's my opinion, but I think Becton, in terms of what we thought, I thought Becton was a combine baby, and then just out of nowhere, played great with the Jets. I wasn't expecting him to be this good. For me, number 1 is obviously the guy that we alluded to at the beginning of the show.
I'm just going to open it for both.
Penei Sewell. Man, this guy
going to open it for both.
Took off this year. We didn't see him much, but damn, this guy's going to be probably the next great all-pro left tackle that we've seen. He doesn't look like he has the size that you want, but goddamn, he has the best technique that you've ever seen from a left tackle, especially in today's NFL. He dances like a bear almost when you watch him.
Love it.
It's pretty great. This is where I think we kind of alternate a lot. Number 2, mine's Rashawn Slater from Northwestern. If you see
sticking with it,
okay. If you see the video of him doing the bench press at Northwestern's, not bench press, but squats.
The squats, yeah.
Oh God, the dude's a monster. Like I think we don't even know like what his actual position is. Like you could put him at left tackle and you'd be fine. You could put him at guard and he'd be elite in that case. But I think if you plug him in at left tackle and watch him try to develop, I think he'll do wonders for you. There's a lot of people who actually think Slater might be better than Sewell, but I think in fairness that's mostly like recency bias because
100%.
of the fact that Slater played this year. Number 3 for me, another guy who's very interchangeable along the line, Elijah Vera Tucker. I had him. Actually, no, I had Darason go in there, but I think Vera Tucker is a little bit better because of his position interchangeability. Right there. I think he was very good at USC. I don't know if he's necessarily ready to be a left tackle. He could be a guard to start off with for a couple of years.
Pretty heavy interior now, yeah.
Yeah, so I think he'd very much be a kind of a better guard prospect to start, but he could be an elite guy right there. Number 4 for me is Christian Darason from Virginia Tech. Prototypical left tackle that you want protecting your blind spot. Athletic-wise, he's not as fluid as Sewell, but Darason strikes me more as Andrew Thomas than Mekhi Becton was. I think he is. I think he's absolutely a first.
How many people are going to strike you as Mekhi Becton? That dude is huge.
Yeah, Mekhi Becton is massive, but Darason I feel like is kind of the guy that he is what he is. He's a left tackle.
Yeah, for sure.
He doesn't have like the one trait that you're going to define as this dude's amazing, but he just does everything well.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And then number 5 for me, I think, is the best center in this class. The biggest asterisk on this because of the issues, Linda Dickerson. The dude's been injured 4 times in the last 5 years with number of issues, and all of them have been either knee-related or I think he did a shoulder injury too, but like, goddamn, this guy is the best center in this class. If he was healthy, you could make the case that he could be a top 15 pick. But we have no idea what the hell is happening with him. Like, whoever decides to take him is going to do extensive medical history research on him to make sure that his knees are properly healed. And there's something about Bama offensive linemen that odds are you're going to hit on them most of the time.
Yeah.
So I think Dickerson, if he gets to the right situation, he's going to be a stud. But it's the big issue. It's just health. And that's unfortunately the red flag that he's going to be dealing with throughout this process.
Yeah, I have top 2, same as you. And then we differ off. I have Darason there at the 3 just because he is more ready to plug in at the tackle position, which is the most important position on the line in the NFL, which, that sways, and it's a funny thing you see because, like, tackles are important because edge rushers are important, and because that happens, interior guys are important, which means guys like Quentin Nelson are important, which means that then the edge rushers have to get better, which then makes the tackles have to get better.
Yeah, we're starting to see like a transition now where center and guard are kind of prioritized more than tackles.
Yeah. But for right now, Christian Darason, I do like his versatility. I think he's better right now. And then a little bit of a shocker here for me. I have Dickerson at the 4 for exactly what you said, which is he is the best center in this class. No questions asked, when healthy. So if he pops out of here and never has another injury, this dude could have a gold jacket on someday in terms of being solidified with a team for the rest of his career.
I'm very curious to see if he actually gets taken in the first round or not.
Yeah. One guy that absolutely will get taken in the first round and is just behind because of inexperience a little bit is Elijah Vera Tucker, who I believe will be a very good interior guard. The real reason, though, is that I favor tackles. I just always have. On the interior one, you'll see these two as my 1 and 2 in some form right now, as included. Who's some other guys you like in this? I mean, Wyatt Davis is a guy that I've been high on for a while, just for a late-round plug-in, instant starter.
I don't know if he's a guard or center, though, which is the intriguing thing. Yeah,
so I think I want to say guard.
Yeah, I feel like he's a guard more in this case because, I mean, center Josh Myers was the guy there, to be honest. Wyatt Davis isn't bad. I've been a Trey Smith guy for a bit.
Okay.
Dude's like just a mountain of a man that I feel like if you put him in the right offense, he'd be great to run off with right there. I'm trying to think of the other thing. I mean, the guy that I feel like everyone wants to know more information about is Quinn Maneras from Wisconsin Whitewater. This is a guy that blew up the Senior Bowl, had scouts all over his pro day, being able to watch him. I don't know if he'll be a day one center guy, but I can understand, like, with the measurables, why people might take him as, like, a second-round guy.
See, to Moorhead's point with Creed Humphrey, I could see us getting Creed Humphrey in the second if we take a running back or something. So I like Creed Humphrey a lot in this class. I think you brought up Jalen Mayfield being one of your favorite guys.
Oh, God, I forgot about him. Yeah, Jalen Mayfield he's 20. He can play right tackle to start. I think his He also, I didn't realize this too. His dad was apparently an offensive line coach throughout
Baker
all of his
Mayfield,
life. Yeah, so his dad was an offensive line coach throughout his entire career. So the dude grew up learning how to be an offensive lineman. So I think it's in his blood right there. I don't know if he could be a left tackle. The more I looked at it, I think his arms might be a little too short. But
Little T-Rex arms.
Yeah, little T-Rex arms. But I mean, the argument could be made that if you have the best sound technique and you're healthy, I mean, what does it matter?
For sure. So that's the entire offensive side of the ball for just me and Greg. And obviously this is March, halfway through March. We are far away from the actual draft coming out in a couple more of the pro days and stuff. So these lists are fluid like water and will change. And we'll get Dre and Moorheads in here somehow, some way. But
I was going to say, if Dre and Moorhead want to do it, they can just do it themselves.
Yeah, why don't they come in here and do it?
Yeah, really.
Turn on things and set stuff up.
What else are they doing?
They don't get this screen either. This screen is just for us and
Exactly. Yeah, Panay Sewell is going to be protecting those. Who's going to be protecting them? Creed Humphrey, probably.
But thank you, guys. Yeah, we'll get this up on YouTube. So this is Sunday the 14th. This will be up live on YouTube tomorrow the 15th.
Pie Day.
It is Pie Day. Happy Pie Day. Let's go eat some pie. Stay tuned. We're going to do, like I said, weekly videos leading up to the draft just for mock drafts, positional grades, maybe a breakdown here or there, but nothing too crazy. But the next video that'll come out will most likely be our defensive positional rankings. So
that one's going to be the biggest challenge, I feel like.
Yeah.
Corners are going to be fun.
We might just do 3 for safeties and defensive line.
Corners going to be fun to do. Everything else is just going to be like, ugh.
That it is. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you next time.
See you then.